My name's Yeats. I started teaching at Queen Mary in October 1966 and I'm still here throughout that period except for 1 year which I spent in South Australia. I have taught, in the early days one was expected to teach a number of subjects. Now I'm reduced in retirement to only teaching the law of tort. And I've also, in the course of my time here, engaged in a lot of administrative activities in terms of admissions, exams, senior tutor, all that kind of job came my way, and I quite enjoyed that part of academic life. My interview is almost entirely erased from my memory. It was, strange to say, the very first job interview I ever had, so I had no experience or practice at it. What I do remember more clearly is my first visit in the early months of 1966, when I came to see the department and meet the people who were already here. The law building was not then open, and the early intake of students who arrived earlier than I think than had originally been planned were accommodated in a wide expanse at the end of a corridor in the Queen's building. The staff rooms were arranged around. Students were sitting at desks in the middle of the corridor, which passed as a sort of law library. When I arrived, Jenny Levin emerged from her office and in a sort of blunt and characteristic way said, "Oh, you're a new member of staff." And of course all the students looked up from their books. They didn't have phones then, of course. They looked up from the books, and I underwent greater scrutiny than I think I'd had at the actual interview. I started, as I said, in October 1966. The law building had then been opened, but we only occupied the middle 2 floors at that time. And that accommodated the law library, the teaching rooms, staff offices. The ground floor was allocated for a kitchen and cafeteria. The top floor was fitted out with new engineering laboratory equipment. Now, striking memories from early days, when we, particularly when we tried to bring Queen Mary to the attention of people who might be prepared to stray out of their natural environment, out towards the East End of London. The first was the actual opening of the law building, which was carried out by Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, who was the Chancellor of the University of London at the time, and photographs still remain on that occasion. And then there was a later opening which didn't quite go so well, when we got possession of what had been the engineering laboratory on the top floor. And the Lord Chancellor, Lord Hailsham, it was persuaded to come, agreed to come and open it. He was, by that time, I can still use the expression, of advanced years and no longer particularly agile, and we got him up in the lift to the top floor, but the lift had had enough and decided it wasn't prepared to go down again or do any more for that day, so we had to keep him occupied, chatting away until emergency services arrived to get the lift going again. What I must say I'm particularly pleased about in my time at Queen Mary, and what indeed encouraged me to stay for as long as I did, was that I was able to have a part to play in the establishment of this institution on strong foundations. At the time it seemed quite promising. It was uncertain how it would flourish. But I'm glad to say, as a result of what we did then and what later generations developed in very different ways, it turned into the successful institution, high in assessment and rankings and so forth, that we now know.